This week's weekend interview is sponsored by the 2026 TCS Sydney Marathon. The ballot is now open. Jump onto TCS Sydney Marathon's Instagram and website to find out all the information and to register before the 17th of October. Visit tcssydneymarathon.com for more information.
Welcome everyone to an earlier edition of the Shoe Geeks episode. I'm joined by Julian over in Anglesea. Is it Anglesea? You're still at Anglesea, aren't you, Julian?
Anglesea, yeah.
Anglesea, yep.
I just recently looked on the map of, I think it's England, maybe it's Wales, and it looks like they've copied our town names over there.
There's definitely an Anglesea over there. And Tommy DeCanto in Sydney. Now, look, I'd argue that Tommy's been up and about more than ever. He's gone from one of the biggest introverts to maybe, we say, the second most popular Australian runner after this weekend. You'd say behind Leanne. And boy, does he love it. Does he love it?
Thank you. I'll take it.
You feeling good, Tom?
Someone messaged me the other day saying, what's that?
You feeling good?
Nitter, your internet is fucked, Nitter, and you always do this.
Yeah, Nitter, it's really bad.
Oh, bugger. All right, you take it on then.
Well, Tom, you just tell us that little story you're about to tell us.
Just someone messaged me telling me that I had a horrendous lisp on the interview on the Inside Running pod. So, just way to knock my confidence.
You've been working on that then?
Yeah. I don't know. Do I have a lisp tonight?
You don't have a lisp, I don't think.
Yeah. Do I?
Nah, you're pretty good.
All right, we'll see. We'll let the listeners decide. Let me know.
More importantly,
abusive messages.
This is the first time we've had a guest in how many months, you reckon?
No, a long time.
Long time. And we're joined by Dan Nash. Now, Dan Nash, look, PhD in Performance and Health Monitoring and Elite Runners, Masters in Sports Physiology at Cardiff, a Bachelor of Biomedical Science in Cardiff University, and the lead physiologist at the Welsh Athletics and Welsh Triathlon. He's represented Wales and I think Great Britain in multiple events all the way up to 50K. And correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm pretty sure you had the British 50K record for a period of time, Dan?
I did, yeah, I did indeed. Thanks. Yeah, that's gone now, unfortunately. They took it off me by 30 seconds, but it's quite a weak record. It's a pretty weak record.
It was about 2 hours and 49 minutes, Tom. Do you think you can run 2 hours and 49 minutes to 50Ks?
Jeez, no idea.
What's the pace? What pace is that?
Easily, you could. Easily. I think it's like, 325, 330K? You'd smash that, Tom.
I'm keen on comrades one day, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm on my bucket list.
But Dan might be most renowned for his podcast, The Physiology of Endurance Running, or maybe on this, people that are listening to this show, more famous for coaching Brady Trayfall on the main show. So out of all those accolades, mate, what do you prefer to be introduced as? Exercise physiologist, runner, coach? What do you pick? How do you order those?
Too many hats. I don't know. Probably 2:12 marathon runner is pretty high up there. I like that one.
Yeah.
PhD. They're both really hard, just in different ways. So it depends on how you rank them, I guess.
So this is embarrassing for me now. There's a 2:11 marathon runner, a 2:12 marathon runner, a 2:14 marathon runner, and a 2:33 marathon runner. So there's a real outlier here now. I thought previously I wasn't as big of an outlier, but Julian, you're a 2:35 runner now. That's your new staple.
You're only as good as your last race, isn't it? That's what I've always said, especially when someone
have.
rocks up on a Sunday and they've had a shocker the week before. They're only as good as their last race. So unfortunately, in order to not be a hypocrite, I'm a 2:35 guy.
Good. Well, look, Dan, we've got you on because I listened to a podcast. You also interviewed Dustin Joubert. We interviewed him probably 2 or 3 years ago, and things have probably changed a bit since then as well. We want to talk a bit more about the physiology of running shoes, and especially the super shoes at this point in time. But we want to get a bit more of a synopsis as to sort of one, what you do currently as an exercise physiologist, and how much experience. We notice that you get to play around with shoes and economy for your own personal testing, and perhaps maybe people that you run with and other people that come in. Do you want to give us a bit of a background of what you do as a job and how you sort of have got to here today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my PhD was, as you said, in like athlete monitoring and health monitoring, but it was funded or part funded by Welsh Athletics and Welsh Triathlon. So I was doing this research project, but then I also was their physiologist for their performance athletes, their athletes on national programs during that time. When my PhD finished, they decided they quite liked me. Managed to find some funding, kept me on, and so I basically still serve that role now, working as their physiologists, doing lab tests, primarily lab tests more recently, but also monitoring the field, making sure that they're exercising, they're doing their training sessions at the right intensity for that given day. So lots of lactate monitoring, heart rate monitoring, etc. So that's, and until recently, I was also offering that service commercially out of Cardiff Met.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant that anyone could pay and come and get a VO2 max test, threshold assessment, economy assessment, shoe testing as well. Unfortunately, all the universities in the UK are pretty strapped for cash at the minute. So my job's gone there, unfortunately. But I'm still working with athletics and triathlon. And then doing a bit more coaching, making sure Brady gets his PB in Valencia, and a few other people helping him out there. So that's what I'm up to at the minute.
That's good. And look, just for the listeners, this will be a bit nerdier than the average Shoe Geeks episode. Look, can you talk to us about like the major determinants of endurance running, like just quickly? Because at the end of the day, the shoes tend to influence one of these more than anything else. And we want to sort of go through a bit of a synopsis as to what makes distance runners, faster, for example, and then touch on how shoes have impacted this recently, since 2017, and even more so recently.
Yeah, sure. So traditionally then there's been 3 primary determinants of running performance. And to an extent, it doesn't really matter if it's the 1500 meters or the marathon. There's 3 primary criteria, and that's your VO2 max. So that's your maximum aerobic capacity. What's the greatest rate, but which you can release energy aerobically? Like you can burn fats and carbohydrates, primarily carbohydrates at that intensity. What's your top end like? That sort of sets your ceiling. Like what's the size of your engine if you're going to talk about a car? Then you've got your thresholds. So this is looking at, there's lots of different ways of measuring thresholds, but we primarily look at lactate, and that's the most popular. And this sort of determines how close to your VO2 max you can sit during a race. So the higher your threshold, the closer it is to your VO2 max, the more sustainable that's going to be. So that's obviously really key in like the marathon and the half marathon, but also in the 10K, 5K, and even down to the 15. It's just going to influence the sustainability of any intensity, basically. And then the last one traditionally was running economy, which is how good are you at converting oxygen into speed. So you might have 2 athletes who've got the same VO2 max. If one of them's more economical, they get more speed out of a given amount of oxygen, they're going to run faster, like all other things being equal.
How trainable are these? How trainable are these sort of in these attributes or these characteristics?
Yes, all 3 are trainable. The extent of which depends partly upon your genetics and partly upon your training history. Like VO2 max is traditionally the one that's going to plateau earliest. Like you're not going to, if you've been training for 5 or 6 years, you're not going to see a big change probably in your VO2 max, unless you've been doing like completely undercooking the training. So that's sort of the one that plateaus earliest, and actually normally it's the early 20s. You see a plateau in your VO2 max, depending on what the sort of training you're doing. You can still boost it by things like going to altitude and like heat training more recently. But outside of those other interventions, just through training alone, probably going to plateau pretty quickly. And that's because like the primary determinant of VO2 max is the size of your heart, and you can only increase the size of your heart so much. It's very much a delivery issue. So you can't get your left ventricle to increase exponentially. Your thresholds are probably the most trainable, because the heart, to increase your VO2 max, you need to increase the size of your heart. You're making structural changes there. It just takes a lot of time and capacity. Like thresholds, it's more about the capillarization of your muscles, the mitochondria. They're very sensitive to training. And there's a limit again, like you can't have your threshold, but it's 100% of your VO2 max. But if it's at 91, 92% of your VO2 max, like that's probably about your limit there. Most people, you test them in the lab. If they're reasonably trained, it might be 85. If they're not very well trained at all, it might be 80% of their VO2 max, their threshold. So that is super trainable. And then economy is the interesting one in that it's a really complex, it's very easy to measure in some ways, but actually very complex in terms of what determines it. You've got the biomechanical component, like how are you moving? What's your ground contact time like? You've got things like your anatomy. So if you've got a really elastic Achilles tendon that stores loads of energy and recycles out, you're going to be more economical. But there's also things that are going on inside the muscle. So how good are your mitochondria at processing oxygen? So there's just so many variables there. It does improve, but it seems to be a slow burner. It doesn't just get better really quickly like your thresholds, but at the same time, it seems to trend better over a whole career. So there's a classic paper of Paula Radcliffe tracking her physiology from, I think, 18 years old up to after she broke the marathon world record and ran 2:15. VO2 max stayed pretty much the same or actually went down. Thresholds got better, but most of that was coming from just being more economical.
Got it.
So that just
the most trainable. So the economy may just improve from just volume over time as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just more running for more years. Things like doing plyometrics and gym stuff and strides and that stuff's going to help your biomechanics. But there's been examples of like case studies of masters athletes in their 60s and 70s. And they've got world-class running economy. Like VO2 max has obviously gone down, but they're still super efficient.
So Dan, knowing all that, how do you measure this? What does it look like for the average person or the athlete going in and getting all these variables measured?
Yeah, so this is one where it pretty depends upon where you're going and what lab you go into. I've got my own set protocols that I use, and everyone's trying to measure the same thing, just in slightly different ways. So typically, if I'm having someone come in, then first I do a sub-max test. So that's going to look like 5-minute stages, starting nice and easy. Every 5 minutes, I get them to jump off a treadmill. I take a lactate sample, ask them for how hard they're working on a 1 to 10 scale, jump them back on the treadmill at 1K an hour faster, and probably do 6 or 7 of those stages. So from that, they're also hooked up to a metabolic cart at the same time. So we're measuring their oxygen consumption and how much CO2 they're breathing out. So from that test, then you can get their running economy at the different speeds. So how much oxygen do they need to run at a given pace? Because we measure their oxygen consumption and how much CO2 they're producing, you can also measure their fat and carbohydrate oxidation rates at those different speeds, which is quite interesting. It's a bit noisy, that sort of data, because it's so variable depending on what you've eaten in the last 24 hours, like what have you done in terms of training. But it's still something that's nice to look at. And then from the lactate responses to different speeds, you get a lactate curve, and from that you can see breakpoints in that curve, which are estimates of where your thresholds sit. So there's 2 thresholds, like LT1 or LT2, or lactate threshold, lactate turn point, aerobic threshold, anaerobic threshold, all trying to basically all mean the same thing, just different terms. And they help set training zones and predict performance as well. So that's where you get the threshold and economy data from, and fat and carbohydrate oxidation rates if you're interested in that too. Then typically I'd give them 10 minutes rest, then start a VO2 max test. And that's much shorter. It's going to, instead of ramping up in 5-minute increments, it's going to be 1-minute increment, no rest. And you've just got to get them to run as hard as they can, just run until exhaustion. And you're looking for a plateau in their oxygen consumption. So oxygen consumption will go up linearly. They'll get to be a point where the speed will go up, but they can't actually get any more oxygen to their muscles. And that's
got
the gold standard of, you've achieved your VO2 max, that's your maximum aerobic capacity.
And what paces are you measuring like a running economy at? Like I know there's a general consensus what pace it needs to be at a pace that's sort of sustainable for a long time, so it doesn't get interfered with, like say your anaerobic system, for example.
Yeah. So really good point. So I would tend to report oxygen consumption across all the speeds, but in terms of if you're doing like an actual assessment for running economy, it needs to be below that LT2, that second threshold. So that pace you can sustain for about an hour. Yep. And that's because if you go above that intensity, then you're going to get a VO2 slow component. So your oxygen consumption is just going to drift up over time. Because as soon as you go above that threshold, you're going to get more and more anaerobic contribution. So you can't quantify that anaerobic contribution, how much energy is coming from the anaerobic system. And also oxygen doesn't stabilize. It would just, as soon as you're above your LT2, you could hold that for quite a long time still, but your oxygen consumption is just going to drift upwards until you get to VO2 max and become exhausted. So that's one of the disadvantages of looking, one of the issues with economy testing is we can't actually look at speeds that are like 5K, 10K pace, for example.
Got it. Yeah.
You can do marathon pace. Yeah,
that's interesting. So someone like, say, I know a lot of the protocols use 16 kilometers per hour as a pretty standard protocol for the economy testing. Someone like Tom, who can run the marathon at 19.5 Ks an hour, you'd probably be able to find, obviously when you're testing shoes, you'll be able to find maybe a little bit more in-field relevance for someone like Tom. He could be tested at 18 to 19 Ks per hour at a steady state and have probably like if I did that, I'd be, my oxygen consumption well over the LT2 by that stage, so I couldn't measure that pace. But for someone like Tom, you can actually measure higher paces at still a steady state and probably get a pretty good economy comparison between shoes then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the 16 kilometers an hour thing is just a tradition. I think most good level runners, it's 16 kilometers an hour is going to come through below their threshold. So you can do that. You can do that intensity. When I do shoe testing these days, I stick it on 19 kilometers an hour because I know that my lactate will be stable. My VO2 is going to be pretty stable. That is about marathon pace. Whereas I know that my LT2 is probably about 20 kilometers an hour. So I'm still comfortably below it. So although we can't see what a 19 kilometers an hour is 309 a K, for most people, that's faster than 5K, 10K race pace. So we do know how these shoes operate at higher speeds. It'd be great to get Kipchoge in the lab and run him at 21K an hour and see what his response is in the different shoes. And I'm sure there's private places like Nike, etc., are doing that with their athletes. But
absolutely.
We do know to an extent how the shoes operate at those faster speeds, and they're still giving benefits.
Absolutely.
And would you, from a practical standpoint, if you're not going to do someone's lactate testing and they want to do shoe testing, would you just test them at like their marathon pace, like marathon? Is that sort of what would that be quite applicable then for the shoe performing at the paces they'd be racing at?
Yeah. You could take some if you haven't done a whole submaximal test of them, you don't know where their threshold is. Yeah, marathon pace is going to be pretty safe. And the other thing is, marathon pace for me and for you, Tom, is going to be very different intensity to marathon pace if you're a 3-hour marathon runner or 3.5-hour marathon runner. So that's just a completely different intensity. Because if it'd be like me doing a 50K, for example. So it's more submaximal, more likely to be a stable physiological response to that at that speed.
Dan, the biggest frustration I have with seeing these shoe testing numbers is the irrelevance, I think, to the marathon, given what happens over the course of a marathon and changes in gait and fatigue and those kinds of things. Do you ever test shoes at the end of your long runs when you are fatigued?
I haven't, and I think it's definitely a consideration. I think for me, the shoe testing, which I do for myself as a case study, that's like the starting point. And you go, right, which shoe is best, most economical when I'm fresh? Because it's you're unlikely to have a shoe that's not economical when you're fresh, but actually at the end of a marathon, it's really economical. So I think starting off with a shoe that is giving you a good energy return in a fresh state, that's a good starting point. But then I think it's more about the field testing and going out and making sure you're trialing it. It would be super interesting to go and do 20K, 25K at a solid pace outside, come into the lab and then do some shoe testing. I
It
haven't done
might,
it. It's just
well,
logistically, I guess.
your pace, your body size, all that kind of stuff might not be as like dangerous as what I saw on the weekend at Sydney Marathon and what was coming in after 3 hours. Just thinking this might have been good in the first 30 minutes or so, but like there's some consequence to these shoes in the last probably 90 minutes. Some shoes like the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, the new Metaspeed range, the Tokyo range, they are just so soft. I just can't help but feel they're actually hurting people's running economy towards the end of an event rather than assisting it.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's some evidence out there to suggest that actually, if you're running at slower speeds, so maybe slower than 5-minute Ks, you might not actually be getting that much out of your super shoe anyway. And then if you're adding fatigue into the mix there, it just becomes really uncomfortable and doesn't feel good. That's going to affect your biomechanics, and just going to be a miserable experience finishing the marathon off.
Yeah. So we saw the Puma study talked about 6-minute intervals, maybe 4 of them, or like 4 6-minute intervals. Do you feel like that's a bit too short for an accurate sort of economy test, or do you go longer than that, or is that about right?
To be honest, I think it's probably about right. So typically, I would get someone in, say they were testing 3 shoes. I would get them in to do 5 minutes in each shoe twice. So, for example, they do shoe A, shoe B, shoe C, then shoe A, shoe B, shoe C, to try and get rid of any order effect there. Because you tend to see that the first shoes are going to look better because oxygen consumption hasn't ramped all the way up yet to reach a steady state. And maybe in the back end, if you're getting a bit fatigued, your economy is just getting worse because of fatigue rather than the effect of a shoe, then you want to counteract effect against that as well. But in terms of actually how long, typically it takes about 2 minutes for oxygen consumption to gear up to a steady state, and then it's going to be pretty stable. You could do longer stages, but then you're going to not be able to do many trials in each shoe. So if you're doing 10-minute stages, that's going to be better. But then if you want to do 2 trials in each shoe, then that becomes a really, really long test, and fatigue is going to be a bigger issue. So how I do it, I normally do 5-minute stages and take data just from the last 2 minutes of each stage. So their average oxygen consumption from the last 2 minutes of each stage. And that's a pretty established way of doing it, I'd say. But there's definitely flaws there. There is going to be some sort of order effect, and so you need to mix up the shoe order to try and mitigate against that.
Yeah.
And like I've already discussed, you don't know how a shoe is going to respond after 2 hours of running in it.
Do you take any subjective variables along the way, like say, for example, comfort or like RPE levels? Like I know the other day I went on the treadmill and I did, 2 by 5 minutes and 3 different shoes. I had the Endorphin Elite 2, the new Edge Tokyo, and the new Sky Tokyo. And look, it's the first time I've tried 3 different shoes and I didn't feel much difference between the 3. And I remember historically when the Vaporfly, everyone has their experience when they first put the Vaporfly, it was such a polarizing subjective change. You knew you were more economical without measuring anything like that at all. You were just running at, 8 beats per minute lower at your sub-threshold pace, and it was just easier. And I haven't experienced that since 2017, except for maybe some of the TPU shoes feel a bit bouncier now, but I'm probably pretty similar economy. If a shoe you place it on, for example, let's say, Julian, you put the Endorphin Elite 2 on, you don't like how sloppy it feels. Let's just say you don't find that comfortable. Is it still going to make you more economical compared to maybe a shoe that you put on that you might find more comfortable? Is comfort important at all with running economy? Or could we just wear the shoe that has the best economy, the best materials, and it not be comfortable for us?
Yeah, I think there's a balance there. It's got to be comfortable. It's got to be comfortable, especially for the longer distances. But then if you look at what people are wearing on the track, spikes aren't comfortable and they're still wearing the Dragonflies. I'd never go, I'd love to wear a pair of Dragonflies all day. They're not comfortable. So depends on the distance, I think, but comfort has got to come into it. But a separate question there, I think, is can people tell the difference just by feel? And I would argue no. A game I loved. I'll be looking at the data and won't tell an athlete if they come in for shoe testing which shoe is looking the best. But I love to get them to guess first. What's the order? What do you reckon is the best shoe A, B, C? And they very rarely get it right.
Yeah.
And I think for me, a good example was I think a couple of years ago I did like an Alphafly 1 versus Adios Pro 3 shoe comparison, and the Alphafly felt amazing, incredible. Like it just feels different. It just doesn't feel like putting on just a normal everyday shoe. Exactly. Yeah. Really good shoe. The Adios Pro 3s felt good, but didn't feel like they're giving me the same thing back. Right.
Yep.
I get the economy data, identical. So shoes can feel different, but giving you good, but still the same economical advantage.
Got it.
And they're probably going about that in different ways. Some are like really relying on a stiffer plate. Some it's for the positioning and firmness of the foam. It's also what you're used to, isn't it? Like what have you been running in most recently? That's probably going to feel better than something that's completely new.
Yep.
But at the same time, like you said, Nita, like you can feel a traditional flat versus putting on the Vaporfly or like even Nike 4%. You didn't need any lab testing to tell you that was better.
No, exactly. Yeah. My point is now all the shoes are so close together, and if I put them on and I get a lab test, and let's say it's a completely valid lab test, and I'm half a percent less economical in one shoe, but I find it more comfortable for say the longer duration of time. You know, do we lean in the measure of comfort, or do we lean into the measure of the economy testing, or are there too many other variables that become too important? Economy is not that big a deal at that point in time. It's tricky to tell because the playing field is different now to what it previously was. And of course, you know, testing is 4 by 6 minutes or 4 by 6 by 5 minutes, for example. We are seeing such an even playing field with the materials becoming better in every brand now. Is there something that someone can do besides going into a metabolic cart and getting a test that would be relatively useful for them to be able to test between a couple shoes, like in field, so to speak?
Yeah, the problem is that all the I guess it's a problem for testing, but good for the consumer is that all the shoes are so much better now than they used to be. Like when the 4% came out, it took forever for any brand to catch up with Nike, and now I feel like Nike's actually been surpassed.
This is the original 4% here, and like Tom said, the forefoot was 22 millimeters off memory, I think, which I don't believe. Tom, was it really 22 millimeters?
Yeah, it was 20, something like that, and like 33 in the heel.
Yeah, never felt anything like it, and I struggle to wear it now. It's too low.
I know I think I probably still have mine in a cupboard somewhere, but yeah, I mean, incredible shoes, just like a step change in technology. Whereas now, all the brands I think have caught up. They're all producing a good shoe, and the differences between shoes are quite small. So going back to your example of shoes which are maybe one shoe is more economical but not as comfortable. Well, I did the Sky. What did I do? I tested the Sky Paris versus the Edge Tokyo, and the Puma Fast R3. Now, the Tokyo version was noticeably lower or better, more economical than the Paris version of a Metaspeed, and the Puma and Fast R3 and the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo were pretty close together. The Fast R3 was a little bit better, but I probably within measurement error, to be honest. And then I wouldn't trust the Puma over a marathon just because of I'm a heel striker. It's not got a heel. That's not a good recipe for.
What did you run your 212 in? What did you run your 212 in Valencia?
The Sky Parises.
You did, yep.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that just putting on the Edge Tokyos, that'll give me a little bit of an advantage there. I mean, it was 1.3% more economical, the Edge Tokyo versus the Sky Paris. So and it tends not to be a 1-for-1. So a 1% improvement in economy isn't necessarily a 1% improvement in speed. You're probably talking about 2/3 of the gain, so maybe 0.6, 0.7% improvement in speed.
Dan, I reckon now's the time to do if you can, to try the running in a fatigue state and see what you think.
Yeah, between those shoes.
I'm just curious to know, like, with the shoe as soft as the Tokyo's Edge and Paris, like, whether that softness and the economy gain you might be getting from, like, essentially a longer spring from the foam compressing further and then bouncing back more, whether that actually maybe the economy starts to go the other way at the last 12K. I don't want to put any doubt in your mind, but
yeah. I think, and again, definitely, you always want to go and trial it outside. I haven't even run in the Edge Tokyo's outside yet. I've literally run in them once on a treadmill. Yeah. That's my test. I do find with the meta speeds that they are just comfortable. You put them on, they feel good. They're not like the Pumas where, like, they're really polarizing. Some people love them, some people hate them. The Alphafly to an extent. Like, they just feel good to put on your feet. They fit well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying them out outside. I've always got the race, but I haven't even worn. Well, I've done 1K in them in 3 minutes and decided not to wear them for a race. But I was about to do, just because I felt too soft and the conditions were really bad. It was, like, really wet.
Well, we bring it to that because the original shoes, like lightweight shoes, racing flats, were economical because they were lighter. And then super shoes gained around about double the mass. They got out to 200 to 220 grams, 250 grams, but people were more economical. And now we're seeing the shoes get down to back to 100 grams again, or towards 100 grams with the same attributes, or they're just dissecting the shoe and removing some of the stuff that might not be as useful anymore. But once again, we potentially see a small, like, turn in economy the other direction, because maybe some of those, the heart of the shoe does disappear and it's relevant for the end of the marathon. So, Tom, you're not picking the really bouncy, pliable shoe because you intuitively wore a shoe that's more stable. And stable is pretty subjective, isn't it? It's like it's not the same for you as it is for me. So
exactly, yeah.
This week's weekend episode is sponsored by the 2026 TCS Sydney Marathon. The biggest ballot in Australia is open and no prizes for guessing what event it's for. The 2026 TCS Sydney Marathon ballot has opened, and after this year's race, it's safe to say this is going to be big. For anyone who is keen on joining Australia's major, make sure to jump onto the TCS Sydney Marathon's Instagram and website to find out all the information and to register before the 17th of October. We worked closely with the team and are confident that whilst Kipchoge and Safan Hassan made 2025 a memorable marathon, they're cooking up an even bigger race for 2026. So get your ballot application in to make sure you have a chance to secure your spot in Sydney. Visit www.tcssydneymarathon for more information.
I mean, I love the Sky Parises and the Edge Parises. I think they're both great shoes. And I've PB'd in the half marathon and marathon and 5K in those shoes, some combination of those shoes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it is interesting because I suppose we're at the stage now where you've got, 150 shoes in the market that are probably super shoes if you include all the Eastern and Western brands together now as well. The weights all live between 150 to 250 grams, and they're all, economy is testing between 2 to 6% better in terms of, so 1 to 5% better when we're running. When people start to run faster, so you guys running 213 to 212, 211, if someone is 4% or 5% more economical in a shoe compared to someone running 4 hours, is the conversion to performance similar still, or is it less when you start to run faster? Is there less absolute time gained from increased economy when people are running faster?
Yeah, so that's why I don't think we've really got the research base to say. I think hypothetically, the faster you go, the more air resistance becomes a factor, and so you're probably going to get less of a benefit in terms of how much of that economy improvement translates into speed. Because if you look at cycling, then actually a drag and air resistance there is massive. Running, if you're running at below 14 kilometers an hour,
There's no drag.
420 a k, barely anything. You can stick your treadmill on 0%, and that's going to reflect
Mm.
outside running pretty well. Actually, like studies have shown that if you're at 20, 21k an hour, you probably need it on 1.5%, 2% potentially to compensate.
Yeah.
So you might not be getting as much out of a shoe there. And then at the slower speeds, like I've already said, you might not get as much of an economy gain either. So maybe if you're, 3-hour marathon runner, 2 to 240, 230 marathon runner, you might be getting the sweet spot there of getting the biggest bang for your buck.
Got it. Now we've also seen all the foams and the super shoes jump into our daily trainers as well. So we're seeing shoes that we use for long runs. See the Asics the new the Super Blast first, and now we see the Sonic Blast, and now the Mega Blast. And these shoes are definitely more economical than traditional running shoes. Are you spending time running in these shoes as well daily, predominantly, or you wear more traditional shoes for easy days? What's your shoe rotation at the moment?
I always used to like a firm shoe. Like growing up, my favorite shoe was the New Balance Zante. Do you remember those?
The Zante. That's rough.
They had a cult following, those shoes.
They did have a cult following.
8 pairs of those shoes.
I reckon
everything in them.
I got asked the question, what's the worst shoe that's ever been made? And the Zante was so close. Like, I'm pretty sure it was like, what's the most hyped up shoe that was actually terrible? And it was the Zante for me by a mile. Easiest one I could answer.
Was it like the early Fresh Foam?
Yeah, Fresh Foam. Terrible shoe.
No, I was back down there on that one. It was simple done well. No, it was good. It was good.
That's what I liked about it. Simple done well. I would do my jogging in it. I'd do my intervals in it. Yeah, I ran my first 2 marathons in that shoe.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What? That is so grim. That is grim stuff.
Got it. Yeah.
What about
I just like back then. But more recently, I've I tried the Invincibles, the original Invincibles. Hated them. Yeah. Horrible. Yep.
They were a good shoe. They were a great shoe.
I liked the New Balance 1080 till they wrecked it and put too much foam in it. I'm now in the Nova Blast. I'm quite enjoying that. I think I am enjoying the Nova Blast. Nice, not too soft, but more cushion. Feel like I could still run fast in it for 420 a k pace, which is my default. Yeah, love it.
I feel like you might be my shoe doppelganger, Dan. We like similar stuff.
You need to find your way to the Asics Gel Pulse then. The Gel Pulse.
Yeah. Have you tried the Pulse, Dan? The Asics
No, I
Pulse?
haven't.
Oh yeah, no. Get into that, mate.
What are you working out? Are you working out in plated shoes and things like that as well for most of your workouts, or are you sort of just still wearing traditional shoes for some of them as well?
No, I basically use retired super shoes. So I'm currently in the Metaspeed Sky Parises because I've officially retired them.
Sorry, Dan. Can I just jump in? Why did you move from the Sky Paris to the Edge Tokyo? What was it? Did you get it Sky Tokyo?
No, I didn't. I had both the Edge and Sky version of the Paris editions, and I tested slightly better in the Sky. But then, speaking to people who already had them, and their marketing, the whole marketing is bad. I think around cadence versus like stride length. I would class myself as a cadence runner, but my cadence and stride length, as is everybody's, is getting higher as you run faster. So that's a load of rubbish. And just listening to doing a bit of reading. I would have loved to have tried the have both versions of a shoe, but I've already spent too much on shoes this summer. So just decided that the Edge sounded like it would suit me a bit better, and I think they're very similar shoes. I don't think
Sky's a lot softer in the heel. Like if you're a heel striker, like it's not quite the same back there. At the front, they're not too far apart.
I like having run them once on a treadmill for 10 minutes. I like them.
And that's that's going to be the shoe you've decided you're going to wear, or you're going to take it outdoors first, or you're going to still do a bit of maths to try and work out whether that'll be your Valencia shoe.
Well, I haven't decided yet. Obviously definitely needs running outside. I think the contenders are the Puma Fast R3s, the Rays if they're depending on how they feel. I think, and then the Tokyo Edge. Probably at the minute leaning towards the Tokyo Edge, I expect, but haven't made any decisions there. Just need to see how they respond outside to longer durations, really.
And what sort of things are you looking for that give you confidence from a shoe for the marathon?
I think mostly comfort, really. If I've tested their economy, I know they're all like ballpark in the same place. Then it is, I actually, when I'm doing my really specific stuff, how are they feeling at the end of that? I think this is also going to be amplified in someone who's less conditioned for the marathon. Obviously, everyone's fatiguing and biomechanics are changing. Like there's that paper from I think the 2017 World Champs where there was a much higher proportion of heel strikers at the end of a marathon versus at the start, and this is an elite level competitors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think my form is going to fall apart like someone who's actually just not done the prep for a marathon, or if they're running a marathon in 4 hours and they're actually just running for 4 hours. So I think you're going to see individual variation there. I think, like you said.
So the Fast R, you've said, I don't trust it. And you say a rear foot striker. So can you just explain the types of sensations you might be getting or the experience you're getting in that shoe where a listener might go, oh yeah, I feel that too. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've had only good experience with it. It's more by reputation and just looking at, I haven't tried it over anything in really long yet. I've raced a 5K in it. I did 8x2K on the track in it, and it felt pretty good. And I was expecting my calves to be shot the next day, and they were absolutely fine. So it's more reputationally, I think, having seen some people have bad experience of it rather than me having any direct experience of it yet. I feel fantastic. I think in terms of the energy return and the pop it is like putting on those Nike 4% for the first time and going, wow, actually this feels like a step change.
Dan, do you have, Dan, any like muscular or like body regions in a marathon that are more prone than others when you're, in the last several marathons you've done? Or is it always different parts of your body that fatigue?
Probably more quads and hips. My calves are normally pretty good.
That's probably for me like a good sign for like the Puma, in the sense that for me it's like always, well, not always, but it has been several times in recent years like calves that have gone first.
Yeah,
which would be for me like a red flag for a shoe that anecdotally has loaded people's calves, or if I got it and I felt like it was a little bit twitchy on the calf, I just wouldn't use it.
It's funny, Tom. I was thinking the other day when I was wearing the Edge Tokyo, how perfect that is. I still think that will still work for you, even though it's probably not as stable in the forefoot. It's the TPU is so soft in the forefoot, and the rear foot is a little bit firmer. As you hit the ground, like it almost functionally moves into a slightly pitched shoe. It still keeps the cadence up pretty high. I still think between now and Valencia, you should try it out in something else on the road that's pretty flat, just in case you're 0.5, more economical.
The thing is, though, like I doubt I will be wearing the Pumas, just because I've got a shoe that's pretty much the same economical advantage when I'm fresh. If anything, it's going to get worse with Pumas. It's probably not going to get. It's probably not going to hold its properties better in the back end of a marathon. So why risk it?
Yeah,
just why risk it? I would prefer a shoe that's 0.5% less economical, but is going to get me to a finish line in a good place, rather than one that's great for halfway and then is either just even practically just giving me blisters or hurting my feet or just not comfortable, even if it's just not working for me the same. So I think it's about risk reward. Like how much you want to risk it. Like maybe you might run 30 seconds quicker, or you might run 5 minutes slower.
While we've got you, Dan, there was just recently there was an event where they Adidas created a 60mm shoe, and because you're an ultra guy to some extent, they went ahead and tried to break the world record for the I think they broke 6 hours in the end. The winner got under 6 hours just marginally. And obviously the shoes were designed for protection as much as economy. Does economy matter as much in those types of events compared to, say, a half marathon and a marathon?
So arguably probably more so, I think, because of the whole, the advantage of being more economical is that you're going to use less energy to run at a given pace. And so glycogen storage and all that sort of thing is going to be so important when you're running for 100K. However aggressively you fuel, you can't replace all the energy that you're expending. So if you can get your economy better there, then that's going to be super helpful. And reason why economy is more important probably for the marathon versus the 5K, because you're getting the obviously it's better if you're going to run faster for a given oxygen consumption, but if you're also sparing glycogen at the same time, that's great. But then it's 60 millimeter shoes. Is that actually going to make you more economical? I don't know. Like, where do you stop? 100 millimeter shoes? There must be some trade off and balance between.
It depends on the pace, wouldn't it? Like that'd feel tougher at 5K pace wearing 60 mils. I would suggest maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know actually. So, whereas going as high as you can, they ran 335 pace for 100Ks? Is that right? So around about 17 Ks an hour.
Something like that, very impressive.
Yeah. Interested in that, Tommy? 100Ks, 6 hours.
No, I'd be more into that than a trail ultra for some weird reason.
More cash, maybe.
Maybe got to get paid.
I got a quick listener question for you guys. It's from one of the oldest people that you'll ever meet. And he's just coming back from a calf strain, and he says, "What's the best shoe for a guy coming back in a calf strain that runs at Mulligan's Flat a lot?" And he's dead serious. He wants to know what shoe he should be wearing. The cheaper, the better for this bloke as well.
Do we have to pick something he's already got?
Nah. You just tell him, and I'll sell it to him.
I reckon.
Let's just go Dan first, because he's the guest. What are you wearing if you got a dodgy calf, Dan?
Well, just New Balance Zantes for everything, isn't it?
Oh.
So just dig out a pair of them.
You just finish the calf off.
Just do everything.
That would finish the calf off.
Finish the.
Well and truly. You guys, now you experts can talk about it.
I mean, look, if he's got all the tools, he can probably wear like a high, the shoes that have like the more proximal rocker goes further back towards the shoe. So it sort of like doesn't happen right at the end on a really aggressive toe spring. Like a New Balance Super Comp Trainer V3 with a heel pitch. That'd be a pretty safe shoe, I'd say.
Get the man at Brooks Ghost.
Brooks Ghost? Oh, I don't think so.
No good?
No, it's a bit too flexible, I reckon.
Yeah, you can get a Ghost Max with a massive heel pitch these days, I reckon. That'd work pretty well.
What about a Vomero?
Vomero Plus.
Vomero Plus. Yeah. Do you know, I don't even need to wear a heel raise in the Vomero Plus. It's that, it functions really well without the pitch. It's one of the two shoes I have. Actually, the other one's a Vomero, actually. The two shoes I don't wear with a pitch. So they're safe. They are very safe. Maybe a little bit firmer is not the worst idea, but depends. I can't remember how Croaks runs. He hits pretty far back on the shoe, doesn't he?
I think Vomero. I'm not sure the Plus is where you want to be. I think it might be a bit spongy. Vomero, that's it. It's cheap.
He won't enjoy that, though. He won't enjoy that as much, I don't reckon. He's been in these really soft shoes for a long time now. He's wearing Vistas, I think. Get a 12 mil raise into that Vista.
Yeah, okay. I reckon he's already got that. I can't sell him that.
So Dan, thanks for coming on and chatting a bit about that as well. Like, do you use? I noticed one thing you use personally. You use testing a little bit more often for yourself to test your economy then and there. Will you test the shoes before you race in them? Like multiple times before you go into it, and then the last month in, you'll pick the shoe that's most comfortable, or will you just test all the way up into the day, and then the last test that gives you the best result, that'll be the shoe that you wear on race day?
No, I think once I've tested them once, I'm pretty happy with the order. of which shoe ranking. So I've sort of used that information then. There's more about field testing. I'll get in my lab and do that testing we talked about earlier in terms of get a sub-max test and see where my thresholds are sitting. And I like to do that before every marathon. Just gives me a guide of like, where am I sitting relative to where I ran when I ran 212 and 215, and I just helps manage expectations as well. You never know how you're going to respond exactly on the day, and there's going to be, you don't know how you're going to respond to the carb load and all that, and what the conditions are like. At least gives you an idea of what sort of pace should I be setting out at. But in terms of shoe testing, no, I like. I'm pretty confident once I've done it,
one and done.
That data is going to be pretty stable, unless I think there are other conditions which might affect the test.
You ever had a really bad experience with a shoe after testing really well in it?
Not really, but I think that is partly just testament to shoes are just better these days. They are better.
You got a foot that fits in everything, though. Like you got a pretty.
I've got pretty. I also just seem to get on with most shoes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty injury resistant. I like something that's a bit firmer, but I can. I said I didn't like the Invincibles. I still ran them for 6 months. I didn't get injured. It didn't influence how I was moving. I was just finding my cadence was becoming so low in them. It was didn't suit me that way. But no, I find comfort is the most important thing, isn't it?
Dan, did you say were you doing some private shoe testing at the uni?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were. That was really interesting.
Did you ever get anyone coming in that had like a performance trainer, like not an actual race day shoe, and had a race day shoe versus that, and it was actually the performance trainer that was more economical than the race day shoe?
We'd have people compare like a Nova Blast or something, like a daily jogger. But typically people would want to come and go, right, if I can only test 3 shoes, which is probably the most you can test, really with doing a good job of it, they would come with 3 super shoes because they want to go, right, I've got these 3 options, which is the best. One of the ones that was really interesting was that what's the $500 Adidas shoe called?
Oh, the Evo 1. Yeah.
Evo 1. I had 2 people testing that, and it always came back bad, like not very good. And like all that money you'd spent, and how to actually find one in the first place.
That's me, Dan.
Yeah, he bought that shoe.
$750 Aussie.
Did you really?
You know I did.
Oh, I didn't know you paid for them though.
I like them, but that's just I didn't test them. No, I just wonder because, like, for example, my wife Lana, she's an Adidas girl, and she's got the Pro 3s. She hasn't got the 4s, but the 3s, and she's got the Bostons. And I honestly think she'd perform. She's she was going for a 4-hour marathon. She hasn't done a marathon yet, but she'd probably running around like that 4-hour mark. I just wonder, like, how many runners, like, say, aiming for a sub 4, for example, would actually. I assume most would do better, not in a race day shoe as such, but maybe like a Boston over a Pro.
I reckon you're right. I think too much rigidity, just not as comfortable, especially at very slower speeds.
Or just too soft.
Probably doesn't make. Just too soft. Like longer ground contact times, like running at those speeds, you're just not going to get the return.
Yep. Tom, you'll be getting her an Evo Pro 2 now anyway after that paycheck you got, won't you? She's lined that up already.
She hasn't asked me for it yet.
Has anyone tried that? Have you tried that on yet?
I haven't seen it. No. I haven't seen it at all. Yeah.
No, it's about to. I think. I think it's going to be released here soon. But
be interested in that.
So, Julian, while I got you, what time do these guys run in Valencia?
Tom, hard to sort of. It's hard. It is really difficult. Like Tommy has obviously run at home. He's got the hometown advantage at Sydney. He got the crowds going. He had his kid on course, like real emotional
economy
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, he goes to Valencia and he's just lonely over there. not much to get up and about for, except for just like chasing some Africans. I would say, it depends how you. All right, just from now.
I don't get sick from now till then.
You don't get sick. You run 2:10:20.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. You take that, or you want to go under 2:10?
Oh, well, if you're going to go that close, yeah, I want to go under. For sure.
You're going to go, yeah, okay. Well, you're not going to. You're going to run 2:10:20.
What's Dan doing?
Dan, to be honest, mate, I stopped listening to the podcast when Josh Lunn left. Different podcast, I get it. I'm only joking. What is Dan going to run? What's your PB now? 2:12.
Well, 2:12:59, but yeah, 2:12.
Is that faster than Tom?
2:11, Tom. Tom's 2:11.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We're only a minute apart.
How's your training going, Dan? You getting the Ks in?
Getting the Ks in, yeah. I've been at 185K, 180K pretty recently.
You fitter than where you were this time out from Valencia last time?
I'd like to say so. Although I ran a 5K on the weekend and it went really badly, around 14:29. But got a 10K this weekend, and we'll see if that goes a bit better.
You would know exactly where you're at with all your data and testing. There's nothing to chance with you. You know.
Nah, I'd say I'm better. I'm saying better.
All right. Well, I feel like Valencia is just going to get the worst weather this year. They're due. They can't just have perfect weather every single year and just be immaculate. So you're going to run 2:11:30.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah, definitely take that.
And how's Brady trending? Do you think I think he's doing enough different stimulus now to see a different result, I reckon.
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Like, he's already doing so much training. How would you give him more? Because that's ultimately how people get better. So
you got him doing bloody gymnastics out the front of his house now.
Yeah,
he needs economy
gains. Yeah, I haven't gone complete Chriso on him. He's not doing 185K a week with 40K tempo runs quite yet. But
what shoe did he wear? What did he wear at Sydney?
I thought he wore Alphas.
Oh, is that what he's going to go with? Alpha, probably.
No, I think he picked that because it was like a little more stable for him.
Okay.
Running slower.
Yeah.
That was a bit more protection. And I actually like that from him, like making a safe call like that rather than going into one of those real soft light ones.
He'll be in a meta speed, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does like them.
It's popular. I think that might have been, you reckon that was the most worn shoe? It meta speed Edge Tokyo on the weekend, like at the top tier.
Nida, you weren't there, so how?
I was watching the footage. I saw more than you did.
You saw the fucking front four.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, Alpha Fly still owned it. There was a lot of Adidas, lot of Adidas Pro 4s. I think Asics was close, just behind Alpha Fly 3. Yeah, they've sort of taken over. And if you go out for a jog the day before, Asics owns the jogging world right now.
Got it. Yeah, and so they should. They've done a pretty good job at that.
Yeah. But yeah, so just on that though, I finished the race, went to the tent, had a chat to Tom. He was you had a shower or something, did you, Tom? You looked amazing when I saw you. Oh, very good. Especially for a bloke who shit himself while he was out there.
Hey, I found a toilet.
Yeah, but how much did you wipe? How much did you clean up, Tom? We know you didn't clean up properly. So, and now I was just thinking about being in that. When you told that story on the main pod, I'm like, geez, he was fucking swanning around that tent afterwards, wasn't he? Knowing that he had.
Wow. I hope you didn't shake my hand.
No. So after that, like I spent a bit of time there. Then I walked with the whole field back to like the bib pickup. So, and I was just looking at people's shoes, and there was not a sink. So I would have been around 3.5 to 4. That would have been the time frame I was going. There wasn't a training shoe on anyone's foot. It was all super shoes. Yeah. It was wild to see. And just the gait patterns you see of people walking in those things after a marathon, horrendous stuff.
Did you go to any of the shakeouts leading into it at all? Was it the same? Are they wearing super shoes and shakeout runs, or?
Well, the traveling parties are. So they, like, you can see a lot of Asian tourists come over with one shoe by the looks of it.
Got it.
They'll wear their race shoe. They'll just take one. I think that probably skews the numbers. There were a lot of super trainers going on. Super blasts everywhere. Super blast still killing it there. So yeah, jogging. The marathoning tourist is different. Don't think you can really compare them, because back home they probably got training shoes.
Got it. You boys got any more questions for Dan, or should we let him go? It's probably 11:30 over there.
Oh, I'd love to pepper him about Brady, but I don't think this is.
Well, look, Dan's podcast, the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast, it's a great podcast to jump onto. They've just recently started getting guests in as well. There's been some good guests. I think you had Tom Evans recently as well, one of the trail guys. That was, and even the historical ones, I reckon you were doing it by yourself in the early days, Dan. You were talking about like just the physiology and the determinants of endurance running as well. So anyone who's super interested in that stuff, you got a good way of explaining it and keeping it quite in-field and practical. So people should jump on that podcast and get around it, and even more so now. And thanks for popping on. And if you got any, actually no, that's about it. You always got any questions, or that's it?
Nah, thanks, Dan.
Good on you, Dan. Thanks for that.
Oh, cheers, guys. Really good.
Sorry, it was so shoe focused, and I know that's not your your jam, but you were good. I liked how you explained everything.
Yeah. Cheers. Love a pair of shoes, especially if they're free.
Oh yeah. All right. See you.
Thanks for listening to the weekend episode. It is proudly sponsored by the 2026 TCS Sydney Marathon. The ballot is open. Jump onto TCS Sydney Marathon's Instagram and website to find out all the information and to register before the 17th of October. Visit tcssydneymarathon.com for more information.